Hi everyone, it's Cindy Rue with Mama Rue Crafts, and I wanted to show you the last page that I've been keeping a secret from you for our Variety Mini. Excuse me. And it is an explosion card. It's got a little tab here and it opens just like this. Okay, a lot of photo opportunities. I've put journaling on both sides of these flaps for you. And it closes up. Has a little metal tab here as a closure. I've added some colorful leaves to go with my papers that I've punched out and put on here. Okay, so let's show you. And of course I have my guide as usual. And I will have this posted on the blog, and I call it the expanding card. Putting the 12 or 11 inch on the top, and again this is using the 8.5 by 11 paper. 11 inch to the top, you go in 3.5 and score down, 7.5 and score down. You'll turn it so the 8.5's to the top, and you will go to the 2.25, score down, 6.25, score down. You will be cutting these corner areas away, and I will have information on that cutting. You can use scissors, but I'm going to be using my cutter, and I'll show you how easy that is to use. And it will give you a much straighter line if you're worried. You can use that as opposed to a ruler and X-Acto. So let's get started. We have the 11 inch at the top, and we score at the 3.5. Now remember, I'm using that heavy cardstock, so I'm scoring twice. I really want these lines visible. We go to 7.5. Alright. We turn it so the 8.5's to the top, and we go to the 2.25. Score all the way down, and we go to the 6.25, scoring all the way down. And that's the end of your scoring. Now, like I said, you can use scissors, you can use a ruler and your X-Acto, whatever you feel comfortable, but I found another way, and it's a way to keep my edges very straight. So I have, starting with the 8.5 at the top, we will go to the 2.25 inch line. That puts our score line right on the cutting line, and in this blade housing, where your finger push is, right here in the center, is where your blade is at. So what we're going to do is where this score line comes this way, we're going to cut up on this score line to that score line. Right on that score line. You're going to lift your housing, slide your blade to the top. You're going to look for that score line again. And there's a little ruler right here on this. You can keep your finger here if you would like to hold it, to guide, to know where you're going, and you're going to cut down. Alright, see, cut in. Now you're going to do the same thing to the other side, and that is on your 6.25 area. Or the other tip is going the 2.25, because that's exactly what your same measurements are. So you can go on the 2.25 side, come down to that cross score line again, pick your housing up. Whoops, we moved my paper a little bit. I want to be careful and not you move your paper so much. And we're going right up to that edge. Ta-da! Alright, open this up. Now I want you to, this one's going to be a little different. You're going to start at that 7.5 mark, because you want to cut this one. Now, when the 11 inches is away from you and you're cutting in, say you use your scissors, I want you to cut on the inside of that score line, meaning the score line, you're cutting just to this side of the score line, not on the score line. You're going to cut just a little bit more. Same with this side, you're going to come in a little bit to this side of the score line. So when the 11's away from you, or 11's at the top, you're going to go inside the score line. Does that make sense? If it's at the 8.5 is away from you and you're cutting with your scissors, you're cutting on the score lines. And I do have that wrote on my guide. Cut on the score line. Here and here. So when you've got the 8.5, you're cutting on the score lines. When you've got the 11 away from you, you're cutting on the inside of each of the score lines. Alright? Hope that's clear. So, I go to the 7.5. Oops, I gotta get that. Let's get the 11 at the top. We go to the 7.5. Now that puts that right on the score line. I want to push this way. I want to come on this side of the score line, so I'm going to push the paper just one little tick, one little line past the 7.5. And I'm going to cut up to that cross score, lift the housing, move, and coming down. Sometimes it doesn't cut all the way through. You might have to go because remember we were just missing that score line. Now you have these two pieces, and that's fine. Now on this one, we're going to the 3.5, and now at 3.5 we're exactly on the score line. So this time we want to go a little bit this way of the 3.5, so it's on the inside of that. And oops, keep it up there, coming down to that score line. Down to the bottom and coming up to that score line. So now we have 4 of these tabs, or 4 of these corners cut away, and you can use them. They make cute little tags, really cute little tiny tags. And you can see I tore some paper and put it in the corners, put a little mat on there. You can punch them for tickets, use them for journaling, whatever, but they're cute little tags. So now you ended up with this. Let's put our cutter away. And the reason you're underscoring these two short sides, you're cutting them a little narrower than your score lines, is so that when you're folding, oops, folding the wrong way, remember I want to fold with the bump, it's helping everything to lay flat, so I don't have to add a gusset here and a gusset on this end. That everything will lay up flat, even though we're going to be matting this and stuff, it still will lay pretty flat. Okay. Ta-da! On my samples, I did round the corners. I inked everything. Then I cut my mats. And I matted absolutely everything except for the back side of the bottom. I matted the fronts. I matted both of these flaps. Matted the back. Don't worry about this back. So everything is matted except this one here. Because when I'm pushing, making my hole and pushing my brad through here, I'll put this mat on last and cover that brad. So what I did to make this one, when it's folded flat, I laid my little brad on top where I wanted it, in center, and I took a pencil and I just marked through the hole. Now remember, they're all covered with paper except for this one here. So then I poked the hole where I marked it, put a brad through my tab, and I put it through and opened my brad up. I did make sure my brad was loose enough that my tab would swivel freely. So when I'm closing it, it would close up. That's one way of closing it, making a closure. Another way, I'll set this aside, is, put this over here, trying to stay organized, is doing a ribbon closure. When you do that, ribbon closure, you would mat absolutely everything. Alright, you would mat it all, because you wouldn't need to worry about poking any holes or having any of these mats cover a brad. Where we would glue on the ribbon is you would glue it on the back side so it sticks out and comes around and ties. Now, do you notice this fun element here? See this? You know, I echoed it in here. That's using some of the scraps we had before. I'd watched a YouTube video, and I'm sorry I don't remember the woman's name, but I do believe that video is in my favorites. But it's you getting the most out of your punches. And we used a border punch. And I had the 1-inch scraps from when we cut the pages and such. So I just took a 1-inch strip and cut or punched a border on one side, flipped the paper over and punched the other. I'll show you that in a moment. But by doing that, I made a spot where I wanted that ribbon to go. Instead of just randomly gluing the ribbon on the back, I wanted that ribbon to come across the center of that element. So what I had done is, after I had glued this piece on, and I knew where I wanted my ribbon to go, I got on the center, or looked up this from the center, and went around and made a mark on the back edge. And I did the same thing on the other side. Then I took a ruler, joined those two lines, used some score tape, and stuck my ribbon on. So that way, when it comes around the front, hopefully if I had marked right, it would be exactly in the center of that element where I wanted it. And it was. And of course I can't tie a ribbon on screen, one that I like, so oh well, you get the idea. This is not about my bow tying skills, alright? This is about sparking your creativity. I'm sure you can come up with a lot of other ways for a closure on this element, but I think this is a fun card. It adds a lot of interaction, gives you a lot of opportunity. And on this one, I only added the journaling spots on the inside, and so it gives you spots for more photos and things right here. So that is my fourth, and I believe for now my final page for this variety mini. I'm sure there are a lot of creative people out there that can come up with more ideas. And if you come up with an element to add to this basic page, please let me know. Give me a shout out. Send me a video. Send me a or link a video to this. Email, give me a message, and I would gladly share it with everyone, because I really hope this inspires you. It's a great size. It holds the 4x6. It's really good. Your covers, what you will need is 2 pieces of chipboard at 7.5 by 6. And that is tall enough to cover that top element, or that top pulling tag from your gatefold. So 7.5 by 6 gives you plenty of space on the top. Gives you plenty of space on the ends, and it's a nice, sturdy album. Now, if you noticed, I never talked much in all the pages about the back side. And the reason for that is when I get my fronts all done and decorated, then I decide which order I want my pages to go. Alright, because there's how I decided I wanted them to go. So when I decorate the back, I coordinate with the opposite side. So it ends up being kind of a layout effect, because I incorporate the same papers and the same colors. Do you understand my process here? I use the browns, a lot of the same tones. So it has a continuity to it. It doesn't all look helter-skelter type effect to it. It's got some cohesion. I don't know what you want to call it, but it matches well, and that is my process, but that's, again, just a tip you might want to try. So I hope you have fun with this mini. Expand on it, please. Give me your ideas. I would love to hear from you. I would love to see photos of it. Link comments to my blog, or send a shout out to me, and I would love to see your designs and your take on this variety mini album, because I made it for you to customize, to make it your own. Use whatever papers, whatever inks, and have fun with it. So that's the final episode, and I will be posting some photos of the finished mini. This one here, when I get it done. This will be my cover paper here. And just to give you an idea. So have fun with it, and happy scrapping.